You're embarrassing me in front of my friends. Sophia, the words cut through the noise of the restaurant like a blade, leaving 30-year-old Sophia Martinez frozen with her fork halfway to her mouth. Her boyfriend of 4 years, Derek Thompson, sat across from her at their anniversary dinner, his handsome face twisted with disgust as he watched her eat the pasta she had been enjoying moments before. At size 18 and 5'4", Sophia had spent most of her adult life navigating the complicated relationship between her body and the world's expectations. But hearing those words from Derek, the man who had sworn he loved her exactly as she was, felt like being struck by lightning. What did you just say? Sophia's voice was barely above a whisper, but the hurt in it was unmistakable. She set down her fork with trembling fingers, suddenly very aware of the other diners around them. Derek's jaw tightened as he leaned forward, his voice low but venomous. Look around, Sophia. Look at the other women in this restaurant. I can't take you anywhere without feeling like people are staring at us, wondering what I'm doing with someone who clearly doesn't take care of herself. The restaurant was upscale, filled with Denver's professional crowd. Sophia had dressed carefully for their anniversary dinner, choosing a black wrap dress that flattered her curves and made her feel confident. She had spent an hour on her makeup, excited to celebrate for years with the man she thought was going to propose soon. Derek, at 32, was everything society considered attractive, 6 feet tall, lean and athletic from his obsession with CrossFit, with the kind of sharp jawline that had made Sophia feel lucky to be chosen by him. What she was only now beginning to understand was that Derek had never chosen her. He had settled for her while shopping for something better. I don't understand where this is coming from, Sophia said, her voice gaining strength despite the tears threatening to spill over. You've never said anything like this before. You've always told me you thought I was beautiful. Derek's laugh was cold and dismissive. Sophia, I was being nice. I was trying to be supportive. But watching you order the most caloric thing on the menu while complaining about not being able to fit into your clothes anymore, it's exhausting. I work my ass off to stay in shape, and I deserve a partner who makes the same effort. The cruelty of it hit Sophia like a physical blow. She thought about the countless meals she had cooked for Derek, accommodating his strict dietary requirements while he made no effort to understand her relationship with food. So this is about my weight, Sophia said, her voice steady now, despite the devastation she felt inside. This isn't about me embarrassing you. This is about you being ashamed to be seen with a fat girlfriend. Derek's face flushed slightly, but he didn't deny it. Sophia, you're a smart woman. You have a great career. You're funny. You're kind. But physically, we're not compatible anymore. I need to be attracted to my partner, and I need to be proud to introduce her to people. The word anymore hit Sophia like a slap. Derek was rewriting their entire relationship history, pretending that her body had somehow changed dramatically since they met, when she had been the same size for their entire relationship. Derek, I've been the same size since the day we met. I wore a size 18 on our first date, and I wear a size 18 now. You're acting like I've transformed into a completely different person. But the only thing that's changed is your willingness to be honest about your shallow priorities. Derek's mask slipped completely, revealing the calculation underneath his charm. Look, Sophia, I've been trying to make this work because I care about you as a person. But I met someone at the gym who shares my lifestyle and my values. Someone who takes fitness seriously and understands the importance of maintaining herself. The confession hit Sophia like ice water. Derek hadn't just been criticizing her body, he had been cheating on her while making her feel like the problem was her lack of self-discipline. You're cheating on me, Sophia said, the words coming out flat and emotionless. You're sitting here at our anniversary dinner, telling me I embarrass you, while you've been fucking someone else behind my back. Derek had the decency to look uncomfortable, but he didn't deny it. Her name is Jessica. She's a personal trainer. At my gym, we connected over our shared commitment to health and fitness. It started as friendship, but it became something more because we have things in common that you and I never did. Sophia felt something fundamental shift inside her chest, like tectonic plates rearranging themselves before an earthquake. For 4 years, she had absorbed Derek's subtle criticisms, his helpful suggestions about her eating habits, his loving concerns about her health. She had internalized his disappointment and made it her own shame. But sitting in that restaurant, listening to Derek justify his infidelity by blaming her body, Sophia felt something she hadn't experienced in years, white-hot, purifying rage. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Sophia said, her voice taking on the cool professionalism she used in boardroom negotiations. You've been cheating on me with your personal trainer while simultaneously making me feel like my body is a problem you've been heroically enduring. You've convinced me to question my own worth while you've been getting validation from someone else, and now you're trying to frame your betrayal as a natural consequence of my failure to meet your standards. Derek shifted uncomfortably in his chair, perhaps recognizing that Sophia's tone had changed from hurt to something much more dangerous. Sophia, you're oversimplifying this. Relationships are complicated. Physical attraction matters, and physical attraction matters, Sophia interrupted, but loyalty matters more. Honesty matters more. basic human decency matters more. And apparently, those are things you're incapable of providing regardless of what I weigh. She stood up from the table, her movements deliberate and controlled despite the chaos in her chest. The entire restaurant seemed to fall silent as Sophia gathered her purse and coat, her dignity intact, even as her heart shattered into pieces. Derek reached for her wrist as she prepared to leave. Sophia, wait, we can work this out. I can end things with Jessica if you're willing to make some changes. We can get you a trainer, put you on a meal plan, make this relationship work. The audacity of his offer, that he would sacrifice his affair if she would sacrifice her body, autonomy crystallized everything Sophia needed to understand about Derek Thompson and the 4 years she had wasted trying to earn love from someone fundamentally incapable of giving it. Derek, Sophia said with perfect calm, I wouldn't take you back if I woke up tomorrow weighing 120 pounds. The problem was never my size. The problem was your character. And that's not something that can be fixed with a gym membership. She walked out of the restaurant with her head held high, leaving Derek sitting alone at their anniversary table with the check and the sudden realization that he had just lost something irreplaceable in pursuit of something as shallow as physical perfection. That night, Sophia ordered Chinese food from her favorite restaurant. The spicy dishes Derek had always complained were too heavy. She opened a bottle of wine she had been saving for a special occasion and sat in her living room, finally understanding that the special occasion was her liberation. As she ate lo mein and drank wine, Sophia began making a list, not a diet plan or an exercise routine, but a list of everything she wanted to accomplish now that she was no longer spending her emotional energy managing Derek's insecurities. Learn to salsa dance, take that creative writing class, travel to Italy alone, start the food blog she had been planning for years, apply for that senior marketing position, buy a house, write the cookbook that combined her love of cooking with her marketing expertise. For the first time since college, Sophia felt the intoxicating rush of unlimited potential. She was 30 years old, professionally successful, financially independent, and completely free to become whoever she wanted to be. Tomorrow would be the beginning of a different kind of transformation. Not the kind designed to win back a cheating boyfriend or meet society's beauty standards, but the kind that would prove to herself just how much power she had been giving away to people who had never deserved it. 8 months after Derek Thompson walked out of her life with his shallow priorities and wounded ego, Sophia Martinez stood in the conference room of Denver's largest marketing firm, presenting her campaign strategy to a room full of executives who hung on her every word. The woman commanding the room bore little resemblance to the self-doubting girlfriend who had once spent hours agonizing over Derek's approval. At size 16, Sophia had lost some weight, but not through the desperate dieting and self-punishment that had characterized her previous attempts. Instead, she had discovered salsa dancing, hiking with her photography group, and cooking classes that celebrated food as nourishment and joy rather than enemy and temptation. The weight loss was a pleasant side effect of a life lived fully, not the primary goal. More importantly, Sophia had gained something far more valuable than a smaller dress size: unshakable confidence in her own worth and capabilities. The Mendoza Foods campaign we're proposing, Sophia explained to the room of impressed executives, focuses on authentic family connections and the role food plays in bringing people together. Our research shows that consumers are tired of diet culture messaging. They want brands that celebrate food as love, tradition, and community. The presentation was flawless, incorporating months of market research, consumer psychology, and creative strategy that positioned Sophia as one of the most innovative marketing minds in Denver. When she finished, the room erupted in applause, and the CEO immediately approved the campaign with the largest budget allocation in the company's history. As brilliant work, Sophia, said Patricia Collins, the firm's senior partner. We'd like to offer you the position of creative director, effective immediately. It comes with a 40% salary increase in your own team. As Sophia accepted congratulations from her colleagues, she felt her phone buzz with a text message. The number was blocked, but she recognized the desperate tone immediately. Sophia, I made a huge mistake. I need to see you. Can we talk? Derek. Sophia smiled and deleted the message without responding. Derek had been trying to contact her for 3 months, ever since his relationship with Jessica had imploded spectacularly. According to mutual friends, Jessica had left Derek for a younger, more successful trainer, leaving him alone and apparently nostalgic for what he had thrown away. That evening, Sophia celebrated her promotion at her favorite tapas restaurant with her best friend Maria and her photography group, a diverse collection of artists, teachers, and professionals who had become her chosen family over the past months. You're glowing, Maria observed as they shared plates of paella and laughed over wine. I haven't seen you this happy since before Derek. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen you this happy. Sophia considered the observation as she looked around the table at her friends, people who loved her sharp wit, her generous heart, her creative mind, and yes, her body, exactly as it was. She had built a life surrounded by people who valued her as a complete person rather than judging her worth by her dress size. I think I'm finally living my actual life instead of the life I thought I was supposed to want, Sophia replied. I spent so many years trying to shrink myself literally and figuratively to fit into spaces that were never meant for me. Now I'm creating spaces that celebrate who I actually am. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Derek. I saw your promotion announcement in the business journal. I'm so proud of you. You look incredible in the photo. Can we please talk? Maria noticed Sophia's expression change as she read the message. Derek, again. Sophia nodded, showing her the text. He's been messaging me for months. Apparently, Jessica dumped him for someone younger and richer, and now he's realized what he lost. What are you going to do? Asked James, one of her hiking buddies who had become a close friend. Sophia thought about the question seriously. 8 months ago, she would have been thrilled to receive these messages. She would have seen Derek's renewed interest as validation that she was finally worthy of love. She would have probably agreed to meet him, hoping to rekindle something that had never been healthy to begin with. But the woman she had become over the past 8 months was fundamentally different from the woman Derek had discarded. Sophia had learned to value herself not through external validation but through her own achievements, relationships, and joy. She had discovered what it felt like to be loved authentically by friends who celebrated her success, supported her dreams, and never made her feel like she needed to earn their affection. I'm going to do nothing, Sophia said finally. Derek made his choice when he decided that my body was more important than my heart. He doesn't get to come back now that his upgrade didn't work out the way he planned. But what if he's genuinely sorry? Maria asked, playing devil's advocate. What if he's learned from his mistakes? Sophia smiled, but there was steel underneath the warmth. Maria, Derek isn't sorry, he hurt me. He's sorry he lost something valuable. There's a difference. If Jessica hadn't left him, he'd still be posting couples workout photos and congratulating himself on trading up. She held up her phone, showing the group Derek's messages. Look at what he focuses on: my promotion, how I look in photos, external achievements, and appearance. Even his apology is shallow. He doesn't mention the pain he caused, the trust he broke, or the years I spent believing I wasn't good enough. He's attracted to my success, not apologetic for his betrayal. The conversation continued over dessert, with Sophia's friends sharing their own stories of relationships that had to end before better ones could begin. By the time they left the restaurant, Sophia felt more certain than ever that her instinct to ignore Derek was correct. But Derek wasn't easily discouraged. Over the following weeks, his messages became more frequent and more desperate. He sent flowers to her office with notes about how much he missed her. He showed up at her favorite coffee shop, hoping to orchestrate an accidental encounter. He even reached out to Maria, asking her to intercede on his behalf. The breaking point came when Derek appeared at Sophia's salsa dancing class. Clearly having researched her schedule, he stood at the back of the studio in his expensive workout clothes, looking completely out of place among the diverse group of dancers who came for the joy of movement rather than the Instagram-worthy aesthetic. Sophia, can we please talk? Derek approached her during the break between songs, his voice carrying the entitled expectation that she would drop everything to accommodate his emotional needs. The entire class stopped dancing to watch the confrontation. Sophia's instructor, Carlos, moved closer in case she needed support. Her dance partner, Miguel, positioned himself protectively beside her. In that moment, Sophia realized how much her life had changed. She was surrounded by people who instinctively moved to protect her rather than judge her. Derek, Sophia said calmly, her voice carrying clearly through the studio. You're interrupting my dance class. These people don't know you, and they don't need to witness whatever drama you think we need to have. Derek's face flushed with embarrassment as he became aware of the audience watching his desperate performance. I just need 5 minutes to explain. No, Sophia interrupted, her voice firm but not unkind. You don't get to decide when and where we have conversations anymore. You don't get to show up in spaces I've created for myself and demand my attention. You made your choice 8 months ago when you decided that my body was more important than my heart. The dancing resumed around them, but Sophia could feel the supportive energy of her community as she faced down the man who had once made her question her worth. Derek's desperation became more apparent as he realized his usual charm wasn't working. Sophia, I know I made mistakes, but we had something real. We were together for 4 years. That has to count for something. Sophia looked at Derek really, looked at Heyman for the first time since their breakup. She felt something she hadn't expected: pity. He looked smaller somehow, diminished not just by his obvious desperation, but by the realization that his shallow value system had cost him something irreplaceable. Derek, we had 4 years of me trying to earn love from someone who was fundamentally incapable of giving it. For years of me believing that if I could just be smaller, prettier, more acceptable, I could deserve the kind of love I saw other people receiving. But that wasn't love, that was conditional tolerance, and I don't accept those terms anymore. She gestured around the dance studio, at the community of people who had welcomed her exactly as she was. I've learned what real love looks like. It doesn't require me to shrink myself or apologize for existing. It doesn't come with terms and conditions about my dress size or eating habits. It celebrates who I am rather than focusing on who I should become. Derek's face crumpled as the reality of his situation became clear. Sophia, please, I've changed. I understand now what I lost. I'll do anything to make this right. Sophia felt a wave of compassion for the man who had broken her heart. But compassion didn't mean she had to sacrifice her newfound happiness to manage his regret. Derek, I genuinely hope you find the love you're looking for, but it's not going to be with me. I've built a life I'm proud of, surrounded by people who value me completely. I'm not interested in going backwards to accommodate someone who only realized my worth after losing it. As the music started again, Sophia returned to Miguel's arms and continued dancing, leaving Derek standing alone in the middle of a room full of people who had moved on without him. By the time the song ended, he was gone. 6 months later, Sofia Martinez stood in the kitchen of her new house, a charming Victorian in Denver's Capitol Hill neighborhood that she had purchased with her promotion bonus and the advance from her cookbook deal. The kitchen was her favorite room, spacious enough for elaborate dinner parties, with professional-grade appliances that made cooking feel like art rather than obligation. Tonight, she was preparing dinner for 12. A monthly tradition she had started where her chosen family gathered to share food, stories, and the kind of deep friendship that had replaced her need for romantic validation. The menu featured recipes from her upcoming cookbook, Comfort and Joy, Reclaiming Food, as Love. Maria arrived first, bringing wine and her latest dating stories. James and his husband David came next, followed by Carlos from the dance studio and several colleagues from work. The house filled with laughter, conversation, and the comfortable chaos of people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. As Sophia served her signature paella, she reflected on how dramatically her life had changed since that devastating anniversary dinner 18 months earlier. She had built a career she was passionate about, a home that reflected her personality, and a community of people who celebrated her exactly as she was. The doorbell rang just as they were serving dessert. Sophia wasn't expecting anyone else, but she assumed one of her friends had invited a guest. She opened the door to find Derek Thompson standing on her porch, holding an enormous bouquet of roses and looking like he had been rehearsing this moment for weeks. Derek, what are you doing here? Sophia asked, genuinely surprised by his appearance. Behind her, she could hear her dinner party continuing, the warm sound of friends enjoying each other's company. Derek looked past her into the house, taking in the evidence of the life she had built without him, the laughter, the beautiful home, the obvious contentment that radiated from every corner of her existence. I had to see you, Derek said, his voice thick with emotion. I've spent the last year and a half trying to find someone else, trying to move on, but I can't stop thinking about what we had, what I threw away. Sophia studied Derek's face, noting the lines of stress and unhappiness that hadn't been there. During their relationship, he looked like a man who had chased fool's gold and discovered too late that he had discarded something precious. Derek, I appreciate that you've had time to reflect on our relationship, but I'm hosting a dinner party. Right now, this isn't an appropriate time for this conversation. Please, just give me 5 minutes, Derek pleaded. I know I hurt you. I know I was shallow and cruel, but I've learned from my mistakes. I've been in therapy. I've worked on myself. I understand now what real love looks like. Sophia felt a familiar stirring of the old Sophia, the woman who had spent years trying to heal Derek's emotional wounds and manage his insecurities. But that woman no longer existed, replaced by someone who had learned that her time and energy were precious resources not to be wasted on people who had proven themselves unworthy of them. Derek, I'm genuinely glad you've been working on yourself. Personal growth is important, and I hope it brings you peace. But your journey doesn't require my participation. I've moved on, and I'm not interested in revisiting a relationship that was fundamentally unhealthy for both of us. But Sophia, look at what you've accomplished, Derek continued, gesturing toward her house and the sounds of her successful life. You're amazing. You've always been amazing. I was just too stupid and shallow to see it. Sophia realized that Derek was making the same mistake he had always made, focusing on her external achievements and appearance rather than understanding her as a complete person. Even his apology was performative, designed to win her back rather than genuinely acknowledge the harm he had caused. Derek, you're doing it again, Sophia said gently but firmly. You're focusing on what I've accomplished, how I look, what I can offer you. You're not apologizing for the pain you caused or showing genuine understanding of why our relationship was unhealthy. You're trying to win back something you've decided is valuable, not make amends to someone you hurt. From inside the house, she heard Maria's voice calling her name, checking to make sure everything was okay. The sound reminded Sophia of the community, of people who had supported her transformation, who celebrated her victories and provided comfort during her struggles. I have a house full of people who love me exactly as I am, Sophia continued. People who supported me when I was rebuilding my life after you destroyed my self-esteem. People who see my worth not as something I have to earn through achievement or appearance, but as something inherent to who I am as a person. Add Derek with compassion but without the desperate need for his approval that had once defined their relationship. Derek, the woman you fell in love with doesn't exist anymore. That Sophia needed your validation to feel worthy. She believed that love was something she had to earn through perfection. This Sophia knows her own value. Derek's face crumpled as he realized that his grand romantic gesture was falling flat. Sophia, I love you. I made mistakes, but what we had was real. We can build something better this time. Sophia felt a wave of sadness for the 4 years they had both wasted trying to force a connection that had never been authentic, but she also felt profound gratitude for the journey that had brought her to this moment of absolute clarity about what she wanted and deserved in her life. Derek, what we had wasn't love. It was you tolerating me while I desperately tried to become someone worthy of your affection. Real love doesn't require someone to change their fundamental nature. Real love celebrates who someone is rather than focusing on who they might become. She gestured back toward her house, where her friends were waiting with dessert and stories and the easy affection of people who chose to be in each other's lives. Without conditions or requirements, I've learned what real love looks like, and it's not what we had. It's not desperate or conditional or based on appearance. It's steady and celebrating and kind. It's what I have with my friends, and what I'll have with a romantic partner when I meet someone who's capable of offering that kind of authentic connection. Derek stood on her porch for a long moment, holding his expensive roses and finally understanding that some mistakes can't be undone, no matter how much regret accompanies the apology. I'm sorry, Sophia, Derek said finally, and for the first time, his apology sounded genuine rather than strategic. I'm sorry for the pain I caused, and I'm sorry it took losing you for me to understand what I had. Sophia nodded, accepting his apology without feeling obligated to absolve him or offer false hope for reconciliation. Thank you for saying that, Derek. I hope you find the happiness you're looking for, but you're not going to find it by trying to reclaim something that was never healthy to begin with. As Derek walked back to his car, Sophia returned to her dinner party, where her friends were waiting with concern and curiosity. She explained the situation briefly, then returned to serving dessert and enjoying the evening with people who had never asked her to be anyone other than exactly who she was. Later, that night, as her friends helped clean up and said their goodbyes, Sophia reflected on how far she had come. 18 months earlier, Derek's appearance would have sent her into an emotional spiral, questioning her choices and wondering if she was making a mistake by not giving him another chance. But the woman she had become understood that growth meant not just knowing your worth, but insisting that others recognize it too. She had learned that love wasn't something to be earned through perfection or endured through compromise, but something to be shared between people who celebrated each other's authentic selves. As she locked her front door and turned off the lights, in her beautiful home, Sophia felt something she had never experienced before in a romantic context: complete satisfaction with her own company. She was no longer waiting for someone to choose her, validate her, or complete her. She was whole, exactly as she was, and any future relationship would be an addition to her happiness rather than a requirement for it. Derek Thompson had cheated on her because of her size, but in doing so, he had given her the greatest gift possible: the motivation to discover her own strength. And that strength, Sophia realized as she headed upstairs to her bedroom, was worth more than any relationship built on the shifting sand of physical attraction and conditional acceptance. She was stronger than ever, and she would never again settle for less than the authentic love she now knew she deserved.